Hello survivors and welcome to another Walking Dead Road to Survival video, and in this video we are going to be looking at two brand new specialist skills that are going to be on the way. I have gone over some specialist skills in the past. There is actually one called Replicate that hasn't come out yet. You can go and check out that specialist skill that is in the top right hand corner, but we have two new ones that Scopely have provided me information on that will come out in the future. There's no kind of timetable on when these specialists will come out, but it's just to get that information out there so you guys can have a good idea of what's coming in the future and to wrap your head around how it's going to work before it comes out. I will say that both of these new specialist skills are going to be two new mainly defensive specialist skills. I do hope to bring you more information on attack-based specialist skills in the future, but let's get into the information. And the first specialist skill we have is going to be Rejuvenate, and it is a pretty cool looking icon for the Rejuvenate, and it is a brand new specialist skill, like I say, and we'll just go over the information on what this specialist skill is actually going to do, and it's pretty straightforward. It says, when this fighter receives a critical hit, reduce the damage by 50% and gain 25% bonus HP. And this would be any sort of critical hit, whether it be a single or multiple hit adrenaline rush, a single or multiple hit signature move, or a basic attack. As long as it hits a critical attack, it will reduce that damage by 50%, and that character would afterwards gain 25% bonus HP. And this should not be too bad when it comes to the amount of bonus HP a defensive character would gain. Most defensive characters have between 80 and 100,000 HP, generally speaking, minimum, and you're looking at 20 to 25,000 bonus HP procs every single time. Don't forget, this is a flat reduction on the actual damage taken, but the actual bonus HP has nothing to do with the damage taken. Someone could theoretically take 10k damage of their 100,000 HP, but gain 25,000 bonus HP afterwards, and this would effectively be giving them higher survivability than what they started off with. Now, I know that some of you may be thinking, does reducing the crit damage by 50% stack with the weapon that does the exact same thing? And that would be a weapon like this. As you can see, the fourth slot says reduce critical hit damage taken by 50%. Now, it might stack or it might not. It does generally stack between weapons and passives. I would assume it would stack with weapons and specialist skills. We'll have to wait until the specialist skill comes out, and obviously on the first character that comes out, I will run that test because that would be pretty important and very powerful indeed. Because if the character that had this specialist skill and wore this weapon had any damage reduction or any just flat rush reduction on their kit as well, they'd be very, very tanky indeed. However, I'm not sure if they have 100% reduction, whether it would proc the second part of the Rejuvenate when it comes to the heal, but I'll also have to test that out when the character is released. Now, obviously, like I said, this is going to be more of a defense team specialist skill. I don't see this as being extremely OP or problematic when you are attacking in general. Like, it's not going to be something like a payback and really toxic to deal with, but it will be very hard to deal with based on whether it stacks, how much damage reduction the character has in the rest of their kit, be it, the passives or the teams they are going to be on. There could potentially be characters come out with just flat rush reduction on their kit, and then that would obviously stack with the crit reduction, and the deal damage, which would normally be a bypass for this, would also be reduced in some way. It really depends on the character that comes out that has this, but no doubt it will be a character that is very tanky and is not going to be too lopsided towards just straight critical damage reduction. They would have to have something else in their kit to be quite attractive. And I would assume too this would also go on a character that could have quite a large health pool, just so that the bonus HP procs would be much more beneficial. So that's it for the first specialist skill, Rejuvenate. Give me any thoughts you have on this specialist skill in the comments down below. Now let's get on to the second specialist skill. Now the next specialist skill, another defensive specialist skill, is going to be Invincible. And this specialist skill has got a lot of details to go through. And I'll start from the top. It says, at the start of combat, while battling on the defensive team, this fighter cannot be targeted, take any damage or status effects on their first turn of combat, When performing a defend action, you will also achieve this Invincible status again, but it has a 2-turn cooldown. At the start of combat on the offensive team, this fighter can achieve this Invincible status immediately by performing the defend action. So while it does come across as more of a defense team specialist skill, it does have the potential to be used on attack, as it has defense and attack team options. If you do use the defend action on attack, I would assume it consumes the 2-turn cooldown like it would on a defense team after turn 1. Basically, it's like the human shield, where on defense, a human shield will proc at the beginning of the fight, just as this specialist skill will, but after that, you would have to waste the defend action, and in this case, it would also go on cooldown. This is the first specialist skill to have a cooldown as well, which is quite interesting, because we could potentially get attack team ones in the future that have cooldowns that could be very powerful indeed. That would be actually kind of cool. But when it comes to this specialist skill, it is obviously extremely powerful, and conversely, versus the previous specialist skill, this one could get quite toxic based on the fact that you can have a character who can't be targeted or controlled in any way off of turn 1. Depending on that character's kit, they could have like a signature move that can go off on turn 1 and it can nuke half your team and there's nothing you can do about it. It really depends on the character's kit, and I would assume Scopely would try to achieve balance with a specialist skill like this, because the potential for this to completely unbalance a fight is immense. And generally speaking, I like things that come into the game that have some sort of counters already in place. For instance, the Rejuvenate one, deal damage is a counter to the crit damage reduction. There isn't really any counter to this in the game at the moment, but I think it's going to be very easily achievable to have a very powerful character with this specialist skill. I can't really see it working on attack very well. It would have been better if it worked the same on attack and defense, where at the start of the fight, an attack team character also got all those bonuses of not being able to get targeted, not being able to take any status effects or damage, because it would only be for the first turn. You're not realistically going to waste a defend action on an attack team character to achieve that, except for some extremely niche situations. However, I do like to see the potential of this being used on an attack character. If anyone has any guesses or ideas, obviously attack team characters are much more like kind of exciting. On a defense team, this is obviously powerful. It's going to be very problematic. It basically counters every single character in the game as it stands, and depending on that power of the character that gets this, based on how their signature move works, mainly how their signature move works, and their passives, this could be absolutely devastating. We'll have to see what Scopely decide when it comes to the character that's going to have this, but I don't think this one, from my perspective, is amazingly well balanced just off of face value, and I can see this going quite wrong from my perspective, but we'll have to wait and see. So that was it, just for a little look at the 2 new specialist skills coming to the game. Like I said, there's no timetable on when characters will come out with these specialist skills. There is another one that we know as well that hasn't come out, called Replicate. If you want to check out that video, you should see an overlay on your screen right now. Like I said before though, any thoughts on these specialist skills you have, please let me know in the comments down below. I want to thank you very much for tuning into this video, guys, and as always, keep on surviving, guys. Keep on surviving.